Hi, friends. Welcome to Corelight Spiritual Weather Report. It's November 17th, 2024. This is Brad, and it's so nice to be together again. The last Spiritual Weather Report was only 3 weeks ago, but wow, so much has happened in that time. It seems like a whole new world, doesn't it? Many lifetimes. So we've just had the U.S. presidential election, and we'll talk about that more today. And there is also some very significant astrology happening. In a couple of days, on November 19th, Pluto enters Aquarius, and that is a very big deal whenever an outer planet changes houses. So it's going to be a 20-year period of revolutionary reforms and quantum leaps in technology. And we're going to talk about that today too. So before we begin our call, I just wanted to welcome everybody who's new to Corelight, and I would also like to welcome all of our old friends too. For those who might be new, every month I tune in on what's happening in the collective consciousness, and I'm always shown a few key themes to talk about on these calls. And today there are 6 themes. The 6 themes are post-election check-in. That's number 1. Number 2, uncertainty. Number 3, curiosity. Number 4, astrology supporting major changes ahead. Number 5, how to prepare for big changes. And number 6, helpful practices for extra support. So for anybody who's new to the calls, I start by offering a guided meditation, and then we speak about the prevailing energies that are affecting us, and also about the spiritual principles that are most helpful for us right now. And then we have time for questions and answers, and we always close the session with a brief guided meditation or a prayer or whatever we have time for. And if you need to leave before the call ends, you can always listen to the recording. We do send out the link to our email list, and it's also posted on YouTube. Before we do our guided meditation, just a couple of housekeeping things. One is that I'm going to be offering a couple of intimate in-person retreats in South Africa in March and April 2025. They're open to people who've taken any of Corelight's courses. The April one is for our Brazilian community, and the March one is for English speakers. We've already sent out a hold the dates email, so you might have received that, and we're planning to send out the full announcement with the details, the logistics, this coming week. So if you don't get that by the end of this week and you want it, please let us know and we'll resend it to you. But I know they often go into spam, so you'll have to look in your folders. Let's see. The second thing I wanted to mention is that I'm also planning to offer some in-person events in the U.S. in 2025. And I'm not sure where or when yet, but I will keep you posted when I know more. If you would like me to come to your area, please let me know and we can talk about it. The next thing is, we're about to launch the 7 Portals of Spiritual Awakening. It's an online course that Leslie taught a while ago. It's one of her best courses, so we have revamped it and we're planning to open the course for registration in early December. And the course will begin in mid-January. And I'll be offering some live Q&A Zoom calls with that course. So please stay tuned for that announcement, which, as I said, will come out in early December, probably before the next Spiritual Weather Report call. I've been working for a while now on turning Leslie's and my book, The Marriage of Spirit, into a video series for social media. And the plan is to produce a few of those to show you sometime in the first half of next year. And I'm just super excited about it because this is a vision that I've held for about 25 years. So I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you as soon as it's ready. So you can also stay tuned for that. All right, friends, let's go ahead and begin with our guided meditation for today. So I invite you now to sit quietly and relax. Close your eyes. Take a few long, slow, deep breaths. Breathing in all the light and the life force that surrounds you. exhaling all the tension in the body. Breathing in the present moment. Breathing out any worries about the past or the future. Breathing in joy. Breathing out shadow. And now let's do a muscular relaxation from head to toes. So I invite you to feel and visualize a warm energy pouring over the top of your head, relaxing all of the muscles that it touches, feeling your whole scalp relax. Feel this warm energy pouring over your forehead and your eyebrows, and just feeling your whole face relax, especially the eyes. The eyes are a place where we hold on to tension. And so just feel this warm energy relaxing all the tiny little muscles that surround your eyes. Eyelids, eyeballs, feeling them relaxing so much that they just fall back into their sockets. Feeling the energy pouring down over the temples and the cheeks and the nose, the ears, over the mouth and the jaw, the back of the head. So just feeling the warmth and the peace and the deep relaxation around the entire head. Feeling this beautiful warm energy and light pouring down your neck, over your shoulders, down your arms, all the way down to the wrists and the hands and the fingers. Feeling the energy just sweeping you free of any tension being held onto in the muscles. Let's just focus for a moment on the shoulders, feeling beautiful warm energy permeating your shoulders, just melting any tension like the sun melts butter on a hot day. And feeling this warmth and relaxation pouring over your chest and your upper back. Down your stomach and your lower back. All the way down to the pelvis. The buttocks. Down the legs, front and back, sweeping you free of any tension. All the way down the legs, front and back, all the way down to the ankles, feet, and toes. And let's just do a few long, slow, deep breaths, breathing light into the top of the head, all the way down into the diaphragm. Gently stretching your diaphragm and then exhaling, releasing any tension that you might be holding on to there in the diaphragm. Let's do that a couple more times. Breathing in light through the top of the head, down to the diaphragm. Gently stretching the diaphragm and releasing. And feeling as you release, as you exhale, feel an opening there at the diaphragm. It's the area between the third and the fourth chakra, between the solar plexus and the heart. And let's just do one more breath, breathing right down into that area. The solar plexus is an area the diaphragm is an area where we hold on to a lot of tension. So if you just breathe and gently stretch that area, filling up your lungs and releasing. It's an area also known as Heaven's Gate. And when we can relax and release in that area, the energy flows from the lower chakras up into the upper chakras. And we feel a deeper connection with the core. And let's do a few more breaths. Let's breathe in through the top of the head, all the way down to the soles of the feet. And exhaling the energy out from the soles of the feet, back out through the top of the head. One more time. Breathing light in through the top of the head, all the way down to the soles of the feet. And with the exhale, breathing the energy out from the soles of the feet, out, back up through the top of the head. And one more time, and just feel how as we do that, just feel a natural bodily relaxation from head to toes. Feeling the connection from head to toes. And now I invite you to put your awareness on the root chakra, which is at the base of the spine, the perineum. And feel how, when you put your attention there, the root naturally relaxes and opens. It's a very relaxing feeling to just allow and surrender to the energy at the root. And then I invite you to drop your grounding cord from the root all the way down into the center of the earth, connecting with the center of the earth, commingling your energy with the core of the earth. And then drawing that earth energy from the core of the earth back up into your body, up through the soles of your feet, up the legs, rising up the body, all the way up the core, up to the top of the head. And feel how when you put your awareness at the top of the head, the crown naturally opens and relaxes. It's also a very beautiful feeling. So I invite you to visualize and feel the crown opening like 1,000-petaled lotus on the top of your head, opening up and out like a funnel, unfurling petal by petal. Feeling your body's connection with the celestial realms. And let's send our core energy from the middle of the top of the head right out into space and connect with your source of universal energy. And that can be whatever you visualize it to be. It might look like a spiral galaxy, or a group of celestial beings, angels, your highest spiritual guides. And then draw that energy of your soul right down into your body, your connection with the heavens, right down into your body, through the top of the head. Feeling it filling you up, gently raining down on you like a golden white light, a gentle mist of golden white light pouring into your body and your aura, filling you up with the energy of your soul. Now I'm going to say a little prayer and an invocation for our call today while you allow this beautiful energy to fill you up from above, and also continue to feel the earth energy filling you up from beneath. And just relax into and receive this beautiful energy filling you up from above and below. Heaven and earth. Feeling your physical body as the connection between heaven and earth. It's literally the marriage of spirit and matter. This beautiful body of yours. So I invite you to just be with that and feel that. And meanwhile, we call on Great Spirit. We call on Divine Mother, Father God, the self that we all are. We call on all of our highest guides, teachers, angels, all the beings who surround us in the highest love and support. We invite you into our sacred space today. And for everyone who's listening to this in the future, there's no such thing as time and space at this level. So you're actually with us right now in the present moment. We're all together in the field of love. And so we invite this cocoon to wrap us up in beautiful golden white light and love and healing energy, and guide our conversation into the highest love and the highest wisdom. Fill us up with light and hold our hands as we walk out into the world, into our soul's highest purpose. And let's take a moment right now while we're in this beautiful field of love, this cocoon of golden white light, and let's send a prayer out to whole of the earth, especially to those who suffer, to all people and the rest of the natural world, to all who are in pain, who suffer from war, especially Ukraine and Russia and Israel and Palestine, anywhere else where there's war on the planet. And bless all who are hungry, all who are sick. Bless all the areas and beings affected by pollution, poverty. And bless all those who are in spiritual poverty as well as material poverty. And let's bless all the people and the rest of the natural world who are affected by natural disasters. So we think of our friends in the southeast of the U.S., especially Asheville, North Carolina, places that were very hard hit by the hurricane. Hurricanes, plural. And everywhere else in the world that is affected by natural disasters, whether they're named or unnamed, known or unknown. And we also take this time to give thanks. We give thanks for all the blessings that we receive, for the gift of these beautiful bodies that we get to wear and being incarnated on planet Earth at this extraordinary time. This beautiful planet where we're awakening to love, awakening to the heart, awakening to peace, even though it doesn't look like it sometimes. And so we're grateful to be able to be here and play our role as midwives to this new paradigm of the heart that's birthing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Alalaho. And so now when you're ready, I invite you to slowly begin to wiggle your fingers and toes, stretch. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes and bring your awareness back into your body, into this space. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. I always love those meditations. I can feel you, whether you're here in the present moment or in the future. We're all together, and I feel you. And I hope you're also able to feel this beautiful field of love that we are surrounded by. I wanted to start today with a quote. This is from the Tao Te Ching. Water is fluid, soft, and yielding. But water will wear away rock, which is rigid and cannot yield. As a rule, whatever is fluid, soft, and yielding will overcome what is rigid and hard. All right, our first topic for today is the post-election check-in. Ready or not, here we come. So last month, I remember saying, no matter who wins, there are going to be a lot of very upset people and a lot of very happy people, inspired people. So that has been true. I have to say, in the many, many years of doing these spiritual weather reports, I've never received so many messages. People sharing both sides, either their upset or their joy. And the reactions I've heard run the gamut. And so I just wanted to, I did a little list, a little synopsis of some of the sharings and questions I've received. So I just wanted to give you a sense of where this community is at. From kind of the one side, the one type of response was about fear and worry and anxiety. And there was also anger and depression and despair and especially grief. There was a lot of grief. Somebody said they were ashamed of being an American and they're planning to emigrate from the U.S. So that was, kind of the one group. And then on the other side, there were people who were also extremely joyful and excited and inspired. And so I'm like, I'm sitting with this, talk about holding the tension between two sides of the polarity. And I wonder if you're with me in this or if you're in one side. I'm not sure where everybody's at. So I guess my question for everybody right now is, how is your witness practice going? Your witnessing practice. I wonder how you've been doing with watching all these emotions passing through and remembering that you're not your emotions, you're not your thoughts. The witnessing practice is about remembering that we are pure awareness and our thoughts and emotions are passing through us. And so also just remembering that that's a practice is really important, so you don't have to be perfect at it all the time. Of course, this is about practice. So the witnessing practice also doesn't mean we don't feel emotion. Just a reminder that there's nothing wrong with feeling emotion. We have to allow it. We have to allow the heart to feel whatever it needs to feel. And we need to give ourselves the time to express the emotions. And it's so important to allow ourselves that time and that space to feel everything. So it's very healing to welcome all of those emotions and let them rise and then let them leave when it's time. I look at it like breathing. It's sort of like inhaling and exhaling. It's a very natural process. And we allow the emotions to rise and fall, to come and go as they need to. So if you're new to this, the witnessing practice is about, really, ultimately, it's about remembering that we're a soul having a human experience and the emotions are just passing through us. So the emotions and the thoughts are temporary, right? And the soul is what's permanent. So It's sort of like taking a bird's eye view of the situation. So my hope and my intention for this gathering is that what we talk about today can help all of us strengthen our witnessing practice. And I'm not going to go into how to do the practice, since I know most people who listen to these calls already know how to do it. But if you're new to Corelight, the witnessing practice is explained in great detail in our book, The Marriage of Spirit, and that's available anywhere on our website or Amazon. Our website is corelight.org, or any bookseller. And so also this course that I mentioned I'll be teaching soon, the 7 Portals of Spiritual Awakening. There'll be a lot more about witnessing practice in that course. So in that course, I made some special guided meditations about the witnessing practice. So if you're struggling emotionally, I hope that you've been able to, let's say, use this opportunity of the last while, to strengthen your witnessing practice. Even though I know it's uncomfortable and challenging, if you're struggling emotionally, it's no fun. But again, it's always an opportunity. So last month, we also talked about our job being to hold the tension between the two sides of the polarity and to keep our hearts open as much as we possibly can. So I wanted to put it out there. How are you doing with that practice? It's really part of the witnessing practice. And I know from the responses I got that quite a few people have been struggling with that. So if that's you, if you've been struggling with that, one of the things that helps me is remembering that as a species, we are in our next evolutionary step. It's what we're all learning. We came here to planet Earth to learn to keep the heart open. And so we're in this fantastic opportunity right now to practice this. I know sometimes we talk about this as an FGO, if you know what that is, a frickin' growth opportunity. So that's what we're in. If you're struggling, for some people, it's if you were one of the ones in joy and inspiration, then that's obviously not for you. But I wanted to also mention that I find it helpful to remember what we talked about last month, which is that no matter which team won the election, that we as a collective, humanity, we have a destiny to birth this new paradigm of the heart. So this is a reminder of that. So as a species, that's where we're going. We're going to the new paradigm of the heart. We incarnated at this time to be the midwives to this whole new paradigm of heart-centered consciousness, where we live in states of love and compassion and inner peace and all these higher states. And I know it might not look like that sometimes, but it's true. And so we're going to talk a lot more about this today, but this is our work, to practice keeping the heart open no matter what. And our individual practice is important. It's our contribution to the collective awakening. So if you're struggling right now, what I find helpful is to remember that what's true for an individual is also true for a collective, because a collective is just a group of individuals. And so as individuals, we each incarnate with a soul purpose or a destiny. And, experiences that we plan to have, lessons we plan to learn, people we plan to meet, and so on. And so we can walk towards that destiny, laughing and dancing and singing and having fun, or we can also be dragged to that destination, kicking and screaming and resisting every minute of it. So if you want to look at this principle in terms of this election, this U.S. presidential election, whichever team was going to win, the blue team or the red team, we're still walking towards that destiny of the new paradigm of the heart. And no matter which team won, we knew before we incarnated that it was always going to be a bumpy ride, no matter which team holds the power at any given moment. So I would say, now that it's over, we're going to go through one set of experiences, which will be different from the experiences we would have had if the other team had won. But we're still going to the new paradigm of the heart. And it's our individual choice as to how we want to respond to this. We can't control the outer events of the path, but we can control our response to it. We have the choice of where we're going to put our energy. So that word, that responsibility, that's such a great word. It's the ability to respond. It means that we're not victims of the events that are unfolding in our lives. Our journey of empowerment is to learn to take responsibility for our lives, to practice learning how to respond to the outer events of the world, especially when we feel victimized, and learning how to choose where to put our energy. Because we're not victims. Life is always, it's being done for us, not to us, as they say. So it's about remembering that at some level of our being, at a soul level, we chose this. And how we respond to it is the key. That's the key to happiness in life, actually. Okay, I think we should move on to the next topic at this point. The next topic is uncertainty. And so like we talked about last month and frequently on these monthly podcasts, there's one set of facts and there are two spins put on it by the media that polarize us and divide us. And especially in times like this, I find it is critical to remember that these are just narratives, Both sides are just stories about what's happening in our world. But the truth is, we don't really know what's going on. There's a huge amount of uncertainty around all of this. And the truth is that nothing is as it appears. So I just want to name a few of the things we're being told, some of the narratives. So like on the one side, we're being told things like, be afraid, be very afraid. This is a fascist takeover. And there's now a criminal, misogynist, rapist who controls the world, and he's going to make himself a dictator for life, and all is lost, and there's doom and gloom scenarios of all kinds associated with all of this, and on and on. So that's one narrative. And on the other side, we're being told things like, it's the draining of the swamp, it's the dismantling of the deep state, freedom of speech is going to be protected now, we've been saved, we should all be hopeful, and on it goes. So, I mean, it couldn't be more opposite, right? But what do we really know? If we're really honest with ourselves, what can we each prove as an individual? And the truth is that we really only know what we're being told. And it's all stories. There was a friend of mine who sent out an email, and in the subject line she said, have we elected Satan or the Savior? I thought that was well summarized. Do we really know? How do we know what's true? And what is the spin? So like I said, one set of facts, two spins, and those polarize and divide us. And we buy into these, if we buy into these narratives, we're either going to fear or get angry at the opposite side. And it all depends on what media you take in. So I find it helpful to just ask myself, what do I really know? And so for today's call, I actually made a list of what I think I really know. I wanted to share it with you in case it's helpful, and I'm inviting you to make your own list. You might want to try this. So here's my list I'm going to read to you. Nothing is totally one thing or the other. Nothing is totally black or white. There are a million shades of gray between black and white. The truth always lies somewhere in the middle. I know that I don't know what's really going on. I know that nothing is as it appears. In other words, there's always something more beyond the surface appearance that's unseen and unknown. I know, and the rest, those are universal truths that I just named, and then I made a list of the things that I know. This is my own inner knowing, my claircognizance, whatever you want to call it. So I know that it's humanity's destiny to move into the new paradigm of the heart. I know that there's tremendous support from the invisible realms to help us birth the new paradigm of the heart. There are many benevolent beings on the inner planes who want to see the human experiment succeed. I know that we, as a soul group, incarnated to help midwife the new paradigm of the heart. I know that as souls, we knew the new paradigm of the heart was going to get birthed, but it wasn't going to be easy. Labor pains. Okay, that's my list. That's all I could come up with. There's a huge amount of uncertainty and formlessness and just so much that is unknown right now. But I guess I find focusing on what I do know can be helpful to counteract that. So can we, as a community, and I guess as individuals, can we just be in the unknown and the uncertainty, and can we just allow the awkwardness and the discomfort of that to just be? Can we practice witnessing and just be with that? For a little while, can we just set aside the things that we think we know and the stories that we're being told and just let them sit there without needing to do anything with them? Can we not buy into the spin? Can we suspend judgment and just allow for maybe something new to emerge? So these are all, I ask these questions because for me, this is part of how I practice holding the tension between the two sides of polarity. This is how it works. It's trying those things. And again, it's a practice. Not always perfect at it. So anyway, that's where I'm at right now. It's really just a lot of questions and formlessness and uncertainty. There's one thing that came forward that I wanted to share with you today, and this feels important. I hope it's helpful. And I just want to point out that being in formlessness and uncertainty, it requires a certain amount of flexibility and yielding and softness. And those are all yin powers, or the feminine powers. And so that's why I read that quote from the Tao Te Ching at the beginning of the call. And I'm going to reread it right now because I find it so powerful. Water is fluid, soft, and yielding. But water will wear away rock, which is rigid and cannot yield. As a rule, whatever is fluid, soft, and yielding will overcome what is rigid and hard. So I find that very powerful. I guess I know a lot of people communicated with me that they're feeling like the feminine side lost in the election. And I want to put out there that that's one way of looking at this, but it's only one perspective. Because for us to cope in these times, as we close out on the patriarchal era, our job is to draw on our yin power. We've talked about this so many times on these calls. Whether you're in a male or a female or a transgender body, it doesn't matter. We all have a feminine side. And so I think that part of what's happening right now is we're all getting this invitation. We're getting the invitation to become more conscious of drawing on these yin powers, which are super important right now. So I'm just going to say them again. The three yin powers that I've been mentioning are receptive or yielding, flexibility, and softness. And so I wanted to just take a moment and ask you if you can name the opposites of those, the yang side. What is the opposite of receptive or yielding? Can you think of what that is? The yang opposite of receptive and yielding? Traditional Taoism calls it dynamic. There are other opposites, but that's the one that traditional Taoism lists as the opposite. And so what's the opposite of flexibility? The traditional Taoist opposite is rigidity. And what is the opposite of softness? Solidity is the traditional Taoist opposite. And there's no right or wrong to this, when we play the opposite game, you can name whatever opposite you want, works for you. So anyway, as we draw on these yin powers, the receptive, yielding, flexible, softness, this is the rise of the yin power. And part of what's happening in the world right now is that the yang, or the masculine side, has got to play itself out. This is, like I said, we have to remember this is the end of the age of patriarchy. And so it has to come to its natural conclusion. And so we're going to see how this goes, but we can all do our part by embracing the yin side in ourselves and making it more conscious and recognizing for its power. Remembering that the yin is equally as powerful as the yang. That's the key. They're equal and opposite. That's what the Taoists teach with that beautiful yin-yang symbol where the black swirl and the white swirl are dancing around each other. They're equal and opposite. It's just we haven't been taught that in our world. We've been taught that the yin is weak and the yang is strong. And that could not be further from the truth. They're equally powerful. It's just that the yin is an inner power. It's not visible. The yang is an outer power. It's visible. So I guess even though it may seem to some people like the feminine side has lost, I invite you to reconsider that. And I invite you to remember this other truth. And that this is all an inside job. So I'd like to move on to the next topic, which is curiosity. So curiosity is super helpful right now to adopt that attitude of curiosity, being curious about why things are unfolding the way they are. For example, why people voted the way they did. I know that we're being told a lot of stories about this, but like I've been saying, those are just stories. We're being told things like, on the one side, racism and fascism and misogyny have won, and therefore that more than half the country is racist and fascist and misogynistic. And on the other side, we're being told that we've been saved from certain disaster, we were heading off a cliff. And so, depending on what media you take in, both sides could be true. So curiosity is just super helpful. asking a lot of questions, wondering why, keeping an open mind, just kind of being in discovery mode about whatever answers you might get. And I would like to give you my own example in case it's helpful. I started, it was about 9 years ago when I started spending more time with my parents than I had in a really long time. We had not had much time to be together. And anyway, my parents are lifelong conservatives. And after I left home in my early 20s after college, I became very liberal. So we spent decades not agreeing on much at all. But then about 9 years ago, when I started going to their house and spending more time with them, I had a shift, a shift of mind. We're very different in many ways. Like they have the TV on all the time, and Leslie and I never turned on the TV. We owned a TV, but it was never on unless we wanted to watch a movie. And so my parents' TV station of choice is Fox, and they watch Fox News all the time. So because I love them, I thought, well, I'm just going to get curious, and I'm just going to see what this is all about. And so even though most of the time I would, just go to another room to be alone and be quiet when the TV was on, occasionally I would pick a moment and I'd get into my witness and I'd go in and be with them and watch Fox TV with them. And I would practice witnessing and observing it objectively. So one of my main practices was neither believing nor disbelieving. And that's when I first realized that if that is the media that a person takes in, they're going to get one spin on the fact. And it's so well done. It is so well done. You would think, of course, the other side is crazy, or they're deluded, or, at worst evil, or whatever. And even though I never watched TV, I knew from my own experience of taking in other media that there was this other spin. And if you took that in, you were going to think the conservative side was crazy or deluded or at worst evil. So 9 years ago, when I did this little, thought experiment, I also decided to ask my parents a lot of questions about their beliefs to try to understand where they're coming from. And I made a conscious decision to remain curious and just to listen, not to try to tell them about my own beliefs or to convince them of anything. So I just asked a lot of questions and I listened a lot. And I had such a profound insight. And what came out of it for me, among other things, one of the main things, was that I think in general, people have similar goals and desires. Like we all want the same things, like freedom, peace, prosperity, safety, happy lives, happy families, But we all have different ideas of how to get there. And so I think that's the main difference. And that was a really important understanding for me, to learn that we all have so much in common. Most of us want the exact same things out of life. And we're all just arguing about how to get there. So curiosity, asking questions, doing a lot of listening. Those are the things that led me to a better understanding of my beloved parents, people I love and adore. And it gave me this understanding of this phenomenon in general. And so I throw this out to you so that if you've never had an opportunity to get to know people who have a different worldview, I highly, highly, highly recommend getting curious, finding somebody who's on the quote unquote other side from you and asking them questions and just doing a lot of listening. And I don't mean just for a few minutes, like try it out, wear it for a while and see how it goes. Really get into it like you're an actor preparing for a role, and you need to go study the character. You're not going to go for a few minutes. You're going to keep going and try to really put yourself in their shoes. one of the more profound sharings I received this month was from a woman who lives in California, and she's been a lifelong liberal, but she voted for Trump. And I know this person. She's very intelligent. She's very heart-centered. And she had her reasons for doing that. And she told me in her sharing that she'd had a conversation with a close friend of hers who was also a lifelong liberal. And she told her friend that she voted for Trump. And she could see there was a big energy shift in the conversation. But the friend didn't ask her one question about why she voted for Trump. And after a short amount of time, the friend decided to leave. And so she said, wait a minute, before you go, I just need to say that I find it really strange that you haven't asked me any questions about why I voted for Trump. And it kind of stopped the friend in their tracks, and the friend hesitated and finally, said, okay, why? Why did you vote for Trump? And she said it opened up a conversation, that at least started, allowed a beginning, for some kind of understanding between them. So I think the issue is that we tend to make assumptions about people based on what we're told by the media. And that's a recipe for misunderstanding and polarization. But it's what we're being invited into more and more and more these days, This is what's causing the increasing separation and the fear and the polarization in the world. We're being told about the stupidity of the opposite side, right? And about their flaws and all the horrible things about their character, and we're being encouraged to blame them. And so if we're busy blaming, there's no introspection going on. There's no self-reflection. And if we're doing that, there's no openness. And then where are we? We're in the rigidity and the solidity. And those are those qualities we just talked about, the yin and yang opposites, remember? So I found this really interesting to think about, that's a pair of opposites that we can all look at. I think the invitation to us as spiritual beings on a conscious evolutionary path is to do some self-examination and shine the light on the places where we're being rigid and solid and inflexible instead of being soft and yielding and flexible. Because if we're accusing the other side of being too yang, then we need to look at the places where we do the same thing. That's just how it works. That's the mirror principle. That's the outside being a reflection of what's inside, of our own unconscious self, So I thought these were opposites that were worth naming and looking at today. None of that is helpful if we're trying to keep the heart open. If we're in that push and pull, then it's just difficult to hold the tension between two sides of polarity because we're busy pushing and pulling, like a tug of war or like being on the seesaw, that's really difficult. So I think that's why the theme came through this month of curiosity. Curiosity is so helpful. I think curiosity, I think, is associated with the yin. Because to be in curiosity, we need to be soft and yielding and flexible. So, it doesn't matter which team you voted for. If you voted for the blue team, go and ask somebody who voted for the red team why they did that, and vice versa. If you voted red, go ask a blue voter why they did that. But be prepared to do a lot of listening and practicing of witnessing and, really cultivate a desire to know about that person. And it can't be about, telling other people what you think or judging them for what they think or anything like that. It's got to be about keeping an open mind, with a true desire to really learn about them and discover what makes them tick. And then after you've listened, then you do some self-introspection, some self-reflection. And so all of this is just very natural if we get curious. It just happens. So getting curious, it helps us to connect with other people. It helps us to keep the heart open. It helps us to develop empathy. So these are all the qualities that we're striving for in the new paradigm of the heart. So curiosity, very important for right now. All right, I'd like to move on to the next topic. And that is about the major astrology happening right now that is supporting the significant changes ahead. So I want to talk about Pluto re-entering Aquarius, because it's a big deal whenever one of the outer planets changes houses. And so much of what I'm talking about relates directly to this. I'm going to read something from my friend Stephanie Austin in her recent newsletter. Stephanie is sometimes a guest speaker on the Spiritual Weather Report, so you may already know what an amazing astrologist she is. Let me get it up here. I want to read it to you. Okay. Pluto re-enters Aquarius on November 19th. That's 2 days from now. As Pluto moves through Aquarius for the next 20 years, how we use science and technology, how we determine social norms, and most importantly, how we define our humanity take front stage. When expressed consciously, Pluto in Aquarius supports transformation through egalitarian grassroots movements, replacing competition and polarization with collaboration and unity. We may likely see large-scale social revolutions, green parties becoming more mainstream, and huge advances in technology, medicine, and space exploration, all of which will radically change how we relate, work, and live as human beings. If we haven't developed a mature, internalized sense of authority and personal agency, which are Capricorn's spiritual task, we succumb to the dark side of Aquarius, fragmented into blind conformity, dehumanization, technocracy. Pluto in Aquarius challenges us to deal with what divides us from others, whether that involves gender, class, race, religion, culture, nationality, politics, beliefs, or other demarcations. It will impel us to address the shadow side and misuse of power in groups, social movements, and technology. I'm going to read that again. It will impel us to address the shadow side and the misuse of power in groups, social movements, and technology. I think that's going to be interesting that we get to look at all that. In addition to the dismantling and transformation of economic, political, and social conventions, Pluto in Aquarius also necessitates an inner revolution, a fundamental shift in perspective from us versus them to we, which comes through opening our heart. Equality, peace, and abundance for all will not come from the top down, but from the bottom up, by each of us doing our part and joining together. So that's the end quote. That's the end of the quote from Stephanie. So just, my take on it, the astrology is supporting this inner revolution and the outer revolutionary changes as well. So the next 20 years are going to be about massive reform, quantum leaps in technology, all these bigger picture things. It means the end of the old hierarchical systems that control us. The way we've set up our world with hierarchy. And it means that people need to take their own power back, their own authority back. And so how all that plays out, nobody knows. But I think the more we do our inner work, the more we clear the shadow, the more we awaken spiritually, the less that we're going to fall into what Stephanie is referring to as what did she call it? Blind conformity. And, the more will manifest the new paradigm of the heart. And that means, we get to live in the age of Aquarius, all those higher states that we love so much: peace, equality, prosperity, good health, compassion, all these, ascended balance states that we call them. And that's, like my friend Charles Eisenstein says, that's the more beautiful world that our hearts know is possible. I want to just thank Stephanie and let people know how to reach her. If you want information, I'm going to read this. If you want information on Stephanie's forecasts, sessions, classes, and ebooks, visit ecoastrology.com. That's ecoastrology.com. All right. So that segues into the next topic, which is how to prepare for big changes ahead. And so if you remember, last month we talked about big changes ahead. And now, we see the astrology is certainly supporting that. I know sometimes change can bring up fear for people, and, that's just a normal human thing. So in case fear might be coming up for you, I can share something that I've been hearing lately that might be helpful. I've heard some channels who I trust say that we're on what they're calling one of the most optimal timelines. And I really feel the truth of that too. So that's why I feel comfortable mentioning it, is that, well, first of all, before I go into it, if you're new to the idea of timelines, it's the principle that every choice we make sets in motion a whole set of future consequences. And so, the future can look really different depending on the choices we make in the present moment. So there are like many, many, many potential timelines, and they're always changing depending on the choices that we're making as individuals right now, the changes we're making as a collective, and so forth. And so one of the ways I like to think of it is, it's like if you're looking at a map, and you're plotting the trajectory of a trip that you're going to take. If the trajectory is a very long straight line between the 2 points of where you're going to begin, where you are right now, and the location you want to go. But then if you pivot the direction of the line by just a very small degree, you can end up in a wildly different location at the end of the line. So basically, the principle that's really important here is that even a very small change right now can add up to some major differences in your final destination. And there was a movie a long time ago called Sliding Doors. I don't know if you remember that movie, but it was exploring that idea where, one small change creates a wildly different future for this woman in the movie, in case you might have seen that. Okay, so anyway, the situation that we're in right now on planet Earth, even though, it might seem pretty challenging, it's supposedly very optimal, believe it or not. I mean, I know sometimes it's hard to believe it. But I share this because I find it hopeful to consider that, that other scenarios could have been a lot darker for us. And apparently there are other timelines where Earth is really not doing so well. And who knows? I mean, I don't claim to know, but I do feel the truth of it. So I guess it helps me to feel grateful for, for what we are experiencing right now, knowing that it could be a lot worse. Anyway, we're at the beginning of some very significant changes, and as this astrology is indicating, the changes are going to come from we the people, from the bottom up, not from the top down. So last month I talked about the revelations of truth that are coming out. And I get such a clear sense that that's going to be a major part of the changes ahead, whatever that is, that just revelations of truth will be helping to create these changes. And like I said, nobody really knows what it's going to look like, but there's certainly going to be more twists in the plot. I think we can reasonably expect that both negative and positive are going to come out of whatever this election is. So it's important to be careful about taking a side, thinking it's all one way or the other. As we said, nothing is all good or all bad. There's so much gray in between. And so how do we prepare for the major changes like this and for facing this great unknown? I wrote down a list of suggestions so that I can read them to you, so I don't have to memorize them. So first of all, turn off the legacy media news. They're spinning it one way or another, and it's so much better to go in search of independent journalism, people who are not dependent on corporate funding or government funding. That's number one. Number two, listen to what people themselves say, not what the news media say they said or what the news media say about them. Number three, I know a lot of people who are focused on safety. Oh, right. Okay. So I wanted to talk about how do we remain safe and how do we keep our families and ourselves safe amidst big changes. So the truth is that the only safety we ever have is our consciousness, right? I mean, you can take all the physical precautions you want, and there's nothing wrong with that. But ultimately, the only real safety we have is our own consciousness, our awakened consciousness. That's our protection. So since the world is a mirror of our own unconscious self, doing the shadow work, making the unconscious conscious, those are the keys to living with an awakened consciousness. And so that's really the only protection we have, because then the world is going to reflect back to us our own awakening. So when we discover the truth of who we are, which is love, then we get that love back. Anyway, this is a huge topic. There's a lot more that can be said about that, but I think we should move on. Okay, number 4. Be willing to let go of the stories and narratives that we've been fed. And we've been talking about that already today. So just putting aside the stories, the narratives for now, and allowing for something new to emerge. Number 5. And I guess this is kind of the main thing, is the way to prepare for the changes ahead is to focus on our own spiritual path, to keep our hearts open as much as we possibly can. And so what that means is what we always talk about. It's using all of our spiritual tools in our spiritual toolkit to hold as high a vibration as we can possibly hold. And I feel like a little bit of a broken record because I feel like I'm always saying this on these calls, but the highest vibration that we can embody is joy. That joy is the highest manifestation of the spiritual path. So focusing on joy is a really important practice right now. All right. There's a lot more that we could say about all of that, but I think that's enough for now. So let's move on to the final topic for today, which is I wanted to offer some exercises that could be done for home practice, just in case you feel you need a little extra support right now. In fact, even if you don't feel you need support, these are great exercises anyway. A few people wrote in with ideas for squares, so I'm passing along the sharing of other people. Especially if you're struggling with the results of the election, I would invite you to do the squares. But the first one is doing a square on the two candidates. So it would be the desire for the first candidate and the fear of the first candidate, desire for the second candidate, fear of the second candidate. And if you're new to Core Light and you don't know about squares, they are just a simple journaling technique that we offer in our book, The Marriage of Spirit. And as I said before, that's a book you can get on our website, corelight.org, or Amazon or any bookseller, The Marriage of Spirit. And it has witnessing and squares and all kinds, and several other techniques in it that are super simple but super helpful and powerful. All right, another square somebody suggested that might be helpful right now is fighting versus capitulating or giving in. So the corners would be the desire to fight, the fear of fighting, the desire to capitulate or give in, and the fear of capitulating or giving in. And if you're into this and you want to do more, I highly recommend doing some triangles on those polarities. And if you're new, triangles are also, in the Marriage of Spirit book. And what we do with a triangle is you put the polarity at the bottom corners of a triangle, and at the top, at the apex of the triangle, you write a word or a phrase that we call the ascended balance word or phrase. And I wrote down a little list of some potentially ascended balance phrases that can go at the top of these triangles. Number 1, let Spirit know that your vote is for peace, love, and joy. Number 2, go within and find peace and balance there. Number 3, detach and surrender. Practice detachment and surrender to what is. Number 4, be fully present with what is. Number 5, feeling grateful for being alive at this amazing time. Number 6, practicing kindness and having compassion for everyone. All right. That's all for today, folks. I think that's complete. So let's go ahead and let's move on to our questions and answers. So I want to thank everybody, as always. I'm so grateful for the questions and the sharing that you send to me. I really appreciate hearing from you. It's always helpful for me to know what's going on with you and to be able to hold you in prayer and to, feel into what's happening. Also, if you're new, the way this works is that you can email your questions in advance to me, to courses@corelight.org. If your question doesn't get answered today, just know that I do read them all. And I do get to as many of the questions as I can. It's just not possible for me to answer all of them. And if your question doesn't get answered by me, an answer always comes from somewhere, whether it's, somebody else or a dream or a book or something. So the first one I got was, there was actually quite a long sharing, and then there were some questions. So I'm not going to read all of it. Her name is Lynn, and she shares quite a bit about the shift in consciousness that she perceives is happening around the world. So then her question is, how much support or influence from off-world do you think has enabled this shift? I wonder what will happen to mainstream media. According to many, there is little trust in it. Well, thank you, Lynn. First of all, I want to say I feel what you're feeling. I really resonated with your sharing. And there is a massive shift in consciousness happening around the world, and I try to talk about it every month on these calls. As you've heard, I call it the birthing of the new paradigm of the heart. And I know people call it different things, but essentially, it's a mass awakening. And it's a mass awakening to truth and to love and to these higher qualities that we're talking about. So it's been coming on for a really long time, for decades, and but we're really in the thick of it now. We're really at the crescendo. It's the cusp of the extraordinary changes that are about to happen physically. It's been energetic mostly. We've seen physical changes, but there's just been an enormous amount of energetic shifting under the surface. But we're also going to start seeing the physical manifestation of those changes more and more, especially in the next few years, maybe even just a couple years. this is just an incredibly exciting time that we're living in. And nobody knows what these changes are going to look like. But like I said, it's going to start with revelations of truth coming out. At least that's my take on it. So there's this massive tidal wave sweeping the earth. It's a wave of love. It's a wave of light. And it's just not possible to stop this tidal wave. And anybody who tries to stand in its way is going to get swept away. That being said, there are still what we call the forces of separation. A lot of people call them different things, but I like to call them the forces of separation. And they're not going to go quietly into the night. So, who knows what that's going to look like? It's just most likely to be a very bumpy road ahead, at least for a while. And things might look worse before they get better. But I do think it's really important to remember the bigger picture. And like I've said it several times already on this call, and it's that we're the midwives of this new paradigm of the heart that's birthing. That's the bigger picture that we need to hold on to. So you asked two questions. The first one is, how much support or influence from off-world do you think has enabled this shift? And I can say a few things about that. First of all, it's a great question. I think there are an extraordinary number of benevolent beings from other star systems who are here to help. They want to see the human experiment succeed. We're told that what's happening on planet Earth right now it's beyond anything that we could possibly imagine. It's like the event of the millennia. So they're all here. All these beings are here, and they're watching us like we're in a fishbowl, right? Watching with amazement to see what happens. And apparently this is like we're unique in all the cosmos. We're a very unusual species, and this is an extraordinary time. So when I think about this, I do feel like a goldfish in a fishbowl. But my understanding is that the greatest shift that a civilization can make is from the third dimension into the fourth, and that's what we're in right now. Some people call it the shift from the third density to the fourth density, but whatever you want to call it, it's the shift that we're all making as individuals right now, right? Moving from third chakra to fourth chakra, solar plexus to heart. It's moving, to put it in a nutshell, it's moving from the love of power to the power of love. And so, like I mentioned earlier, what's true for an individual's journey is also true for the collective journey, because the collective is just a group of individuals. And so that's why every little shift in consciousness that each of us makes is so important, because that's our contribution to the collective awakening that's happening. So anyway, apparently there's this huge number of off-world beings that are here watching the big show, watching us humans wake up and move into the new paradigm of the heart. And I can only imagine what they must think of seeing, how we operate as a species. Kind of like imagine a spaceship going by and, seeing us drinking beer and beating each other up and having wars. And anyway, I also wanted to add something else. My understanding of how this works is that, they can watch and they can cheer from the sidelines, but they cannot directly intervene. So we have to do this ourselves. And I look at it like raising a child. If you interfere with the child's learning, and you do everything for the child's not going to learn. So the child has to be able to fall down and learn how to get back up and keep going. So essentially we have to learn from our mistakes in order to evolve and grow. If you ever watched Star Trek, they talked about this in that show. They called it the Prime Directive. I don't know if you remember that, Prime Directive. And apparently that's a very real thing, the Prime Directive. It means that that they cannot directly interfere in the evolution of a species. So like, for example, the off-world beings couldn't come in and, fight a battle to help one side win. But they could help in other ways. They could offer guidance. They could, support in kind of roundabout ways. And it would be a little bit like wanting to see your child succeed at something. And so you find ways of supporting without doing the actual work for the child. So we have to do the work so that we really get the lesson. And if that weren't the case, it would be a disservice to our evolution. It would defeat the purpose of our being here and incarnating at this time. So there's a huge amount of support coming from these off-world beings and from spiritual beings, beings who've never had incarnation or don't have a physical body. But supposedly there's no direct intervention happening. So it's sort of like we've probably all experienced on our spiritual journey, when you make a commitment to your spiritual evolution, your spiritual guides meet you more than halfway. They'll show up to guide you and support you and perform miracles for you. The right person shows up at the right time to help you with something, or you find that passage in a book that answers your question, or some kind of synchronicity happens that is extraordinary and it's exactly what you needed. Whatever it is, So we get guided in these miraculous ways. And I don't know, I marvel at it. I just find it all so amazing. And I think that's what's happening collectively with the support of the spiritual guides and the off-world beings right now. We're getting all this amazing support and we're not always aware of it. It's happening behind the scenes. All right. You asked another question. You said, I wonder what will happen to the mainstream media. According to many, there is little trust in it. So, yeah, do I really have to address that? I think you know what I'm going to say. I mean, I have the same question about the media. I think it's better to call it the legacy media because it's no longer mainstream. Most people are seeking out alternatives because they just don't trust it anymore. It's been such a source of polarization, like crazy, like I've been talking about. And, like I mentioned on almost every call, but I think most people can feel that old way, that old media is about fear-mongering, really, and negativity. And it just polarizes us. So, I think it's better to not take it in, but instead to search for independent journalists who aren't dependent on corporate funding or government funding. I think it's all going to change. All of it is changing. In fact, it's already changing. There's not going to be any place for propaganda and manipulation in the new paradigm of the heart. So I think we're witnessing, the final days. This is the denouement of that kind of media. And in my opinion, it can't be soon enough. I think it's going to make a huge difference when that closes itself down, when it shutters itself. All right. Well, thank you for your sharing and your questions, Lynn. I really appreciate it, and I hope that's helpful. The next question is from Lori. What is the flash? Thank you, Lori. I don't claim to be an expert on this, and the honest answer is I don't know. But I have heard little bits over the years, so I did want to address your question today. But for those who may never have heard of the flash, We are not talking about the superhero or the TV show or the movie. Because there is that. But there are predictions that there will be a flash of some kind one day that initiates, major changes in our world. And so I have no idea about this, so I really can't tell you much. But I can tell you that some say it's a physical flash of light, and it's going to come from our sun, and it's going to be followed by 3 days of darkness, and that there will be power outages and so forth associated with it. And it's going to take out artificial intelligence, for example. So it reminds me of, if you watch the movie The Matrix, it's like those EMPs, the EMP stands for electromagnetic pulse, where it takes out all the machines. And so it's essentially like a reset for, and it's intended for the betterment of humanity. So again, I don't know. I just know that that's what some people say. So I'm reporting on that. Other people say that it's more of a metaphor, like it's going to be some kind of inner flash of cosmic awareness, or something that's going to spark the mass awakening and a reset for humanity. So again, I really don't know much about this, and I don't even have an intuitive sense of it. I have not been shown anything about it myself, so I'd really rather not comment, other than maybe to say, I've heard so many predictions about so many different things, and honestly, there's just no way to know. So, like I said, there are many different timelines. And so the way I look at things like the flash, and the flash itself, it might be that the flash will happen in a certain timeline, but maybe in another timeline it won't. And if it does happen, then I suppose in some timelines maybe it's physical. In other timelines maybe it's a metaphor or inner. I don't know, but I think this is what I feel. I feel the important thing for us when we hear predictions like this is to practice neither believing nor disbelieving. We can take it in, we take all of it in. We don't have to do anything with it. We can just let it be there. We can use it as an opportunity to practice our own discernment, see where it lands inside you, see what you get. You can decide if it's something important that you need to pay attention to, or that you can just discard, or whatever. And I would also say, if fear comes up for you, and I don't mean you in particular, Lori. I mean, when I say you, I mean everybody. If fear comes up, or any kind of emotional reaction comes up, then I think it's an opportunity to do some processing and to clear whatever you might discover. So it's our work. It's our work of shining a light on whatever shadows arise around things like predictions, and then you get to do some processing work on it and become a clearer person and be free of the fear. So just to summarize, or to close here, I think whatever happens, whether there's ever a flash or not, whether it's inner or outer, we can trust that if it happens, it's going to be in service to our evolution. If it happens, it's going to support the birthing of the new paradigm of the heart in some way. Okay, I think that's all I have to say on that. So I hope that's helpful, and thank you so much for your question, Lori. Okay, this is our last question for the day. This is from Ruth. I find that the more I clear out my opaque karmic challenges, the more I seem to be a clean screen for others to project their issues onto me. I guess the universe is giving me more grist for the mill, for me to be more vigilant, to separate out what's mine versus someone else's. But I just had a very difficult situation where I found myself doubting what I know and feeling that I can't trust most people. I feel a bit demoralized. Can you offer any words of support, please? Thank you, Ruth. Yes, I can definitely share a few things with you around this. What I know to be true is that the more we wake up and the clearer we become inside, we do become a clearer vessel for the light to work through. So our light shines brighter. We become a clearer reflection to others of their own projections. In other words, what you're experiencing here is a very real phenomenon. And when people project their desires or fears or whatever it is onto you, the clearer you are, then the clearer a mirror they get back from you. The clearer a reflection of themselves you become because your mirror is so clear and shiny and bright. And I know this probably sounds very confusing to some people, so let me give you an example. So I can share with you that I used to watch this happen all the time with Leslie and with me a lot. It still happens with me, but I especially watched it with Leslie, where somebody would come to us as a volunteer, or somehow we'd get involved with them on a project, or they become a close student or something, and it was sort of like they would lead us into the forest of their own ego, where they were somehow lost, and then we would get to help them find their way out of their own forest. And the way that it played out was, often it looked like projections, that they would project things onto us that were their own issues. And our job was to recognize when that was happening and to point that out to them as much as possible, at least as much as they were able to take that information in. And so we always had to be careful about our involvement with people because, in general, like the deeper somebody's commitment to awakening and the more they were committed to taking responsibility for themselves and to work on themselves, the easier the situation would be. Because then whatever the situation was could be used in service to their awakening. And the more receptive they were to hearing about it. So, like, for example, if there's somebody who's stuck in victim consciousness, then they're going to project they're going to project the opposite side onto you, onto the other person, the mirror. So they would project tyrant or savior onto you, because the definition of victim consciousness is that there has to be a tyrant or a savior involved, otherwise there's no victim. Victim can't exist without the tyrant or the savior. So generally that's what happens. You get to observe how that game works for them. And then hopefully you might be able to help them out of it. So I think I should say, just as a reminder for most people on the call, since I do talk about this all the time, this is the number one process everybody on the planet is working through, victim consciousness. Victim consciousness is the water in which all of us are swimming like fish. So, just like with the fish, the water is it's so pervasive that we don't even notice it. And that's true for victim consciousness. We just don't even notice it. It's right there all the time. So Ruth, for you, I would say you're absolutely right. It is, what did you call it? You called it grist for the mill. the universe is giving you that experience as an opportunity to, I think you said, be vigilant and, and separate out what's yours versus what's somebody else's. So that's your growth opportunity. And it an FGO for you. It's a great opportunity to process what arises in you around being able to trust people, around any reactions, to not being able to trust people. Like you said, demoralization was one. And so for you, it can also be a gift. It's a gift of service to other people. It's a gift for your own growth. It's a gift, that you get to help people. And so, yeah, I think you're on the right track. I think you're really seeing more deeply what this path is about. And I would imagine that I'm speaking to quite a few people on this call who understand what I'm saying and who are experiencing that kind of thing too. Because as we wake up, we get given these opportunities. And it's both for our own growth, but also to help other people. All right. Well, I hope that's helpful. And I want to thank you for your excellent question, Ruth. All right. Well, let's go ahead and close out for today. We'll end with our prayer and meditation. Before we do, I just want to say one thing, and that's just a reminder. I'm so excited about the 7 portals of spiritual awakening. This is one of Leslie's best courses that she ever taught. And it's a 7-week course. It's going to start in January. We plan to open the registration in early December. We're that close. It's very, very close to being ready. So if that course interests you, if you feel a calling to it, I invite you to, go into your heart and see if you feel that might be for you. And if it is, please be on the lookout for the email announcement in early December that we'll be sending. So I hope to see you there if you feel called to join us. All right. Now I invite you to, if you're multitasking, this is a good time to pause. Just take a couple of minutes to just stop and give yourself the gift of a little closing meditation here. So I invite you to sit and get comfortable and close your eyes and relax. Take a few long, slow, deep breaths. Just letting go. Just relaxing. Breathing in the light. Breathing out any shadow that might have been stirred up by our conversation. Breathing in love. Breathing out tension in the body. Breathing in joy. Breathing out anything you're ready to let go of. I invite you now to put your attention on your heart, right in the center of your chest. If you want to tap your heart chakra, you can find it. It's in the center of your chest. And if you go sort of a few fingers up from your sternum, you can tap that area and just feel your heart center there, your heart chakra. Sometimes that helps to tap it and consciously put your awareness there. And as you do that, feel how it naturally opens. The heart chakra opens like a trumpet-shaped vortex out in front of your chest. You can visualize it and feel it like a beautiful flower unfurling, petal by petal, like a rose. And feel as your rose opens out in front of your chest, feel the beautiful energy of love that is centered there in your heart. And you might even see it as an energy field. It might have a color, like maybe it's pink. It might smell like roses. And just feel how beautiful and peaceful that is, and how the energy of love bubbles up from within you like a spring, like a wellspring. It's never ending inside you. It's a source of love. It's always there. Feel it bubbling up and flowing out the heart chakra, out into your aura, and allow it to fill up your aura, permeate your entire aura and your body, physical body. You can see it as this color and feel it as a feeling. Whatever color you choose to give it, I like pink. I also invite you now, at the same time, allow that to unfold, but also at the same time, feel the back of your heart chakra opening up as well. See it as a flower, trumpet-shaped vortex opening out your back, right behind the heart. Can you feel that? It's okay if you're not able to feel. You can just visualize if you can't feel it. And set the intention that you'd like to feel it, and one day you will. But if you can visualize and feel that heart chakra opening out the back, the back of the chakras is a place where we tend to put the unconscious stuff, the things we don't want to see, the things we don't want to look at, we don't want to know. And so by consciously putting our energy and our attention there, we can sometimes feel what's there, what's unknown. And I think that's part of what's happening in the collective right now, this uncertainty that we're feeling, the unknown and the uncertainty. It's back behind us. We haven't wanted to know about this shadow side. And that's okay. But it's time now. It's time for us to take a look at it and to feel it and to acknowledge it for what it is. So whatever's back there, just be in your witness and pay attention to what you're feeling and what thoughts cross your mind. You might get a sense of what's in the back of your heart chakra. But I invite you to just open it up as much as you possibly can, and then feel a breeze blowing from in front of the chest, right into the heart chakra, through the heart chakra, and out the back. Feel this breeze just blowing all that stuff in the back out, just allowing it to blow through you, pass through you. Let yourself be conscious of whatever it might be, if you can be. If not, that's okay too. Just feel the energy moving and letting whatever's back there go. Sometimes in the back of the heart chakra, there might be things like times when a lover betrayed you, or feelings of pain or shame or challenges that we might have experienced around love. Loving too much, being too vulnerable, so-called, whatever it might be. So just allow the breeze to blow this right through you. And as you do this, you can allow this to continue. I invite you at the same time to do what we did at the beginning of the call, where you drop your root chakra, you open your root chakra and drop your grounding cord from the root down to the center of the earth, as well as opening your crown and sending your core out into formless space, connecting with your source of universal energy, which is your soul. So allowing all these connections to be happening simultaneously, where you're connected from center of the earth out into formless space to your source of universal energy, as well as allowing your heart chakra to be wide open front and back, and allowing this beautiful loving energy to be pouring through you, having it pass like a breeze right through you from front to back, sweeping you clear and clean of any old shadows that might be hanging out there in the back. And while you allow these energies to move, filling up from beneath, filling up from above, have love pouring through your chest, front to back. I'm going to say a little prayer to close for our call today. Great Spirit, Divine Mother, Father God, Self that we all are, we call on you, we call on all of our highest guides and teachers, all the angels and the beings who surround us in the highest love and support. And we make an offering right now. We offer up all of the polarities we mentioned on the call. The red team versus the blue team, the conservative versus liberal, the fighting versus capitulating or submission, the flexibility, softness, yielding qualities versus the yang, rigidity, solidity. We give these back. We offer up the imbalances. And we ask for all the ascended balance qualities that we named to come into this body. I'm going to name some of them. We are letting Spirit know that our vote is for peace, love, and joy. We're going within to find peace and balance inside us. We're practicing detachment and surrender to what is unfolding in the world. We are being fully present with what is happening in the world. We are grateful for the opportunity to be alive at this amazing time and to share our love with others. We practice kindness and compassion for everyone. So we invite those energies in so that we can embody them, and we ask for the support of the divine. We say a prayer for peace right now and for an end to war on the planet, we ask, please make us instruments of your peace. Wherever there is war, may we sow peace. Wherever there is polarization, let us sow unity. We also ask for a prayer, we say a prayer for protection and courage and inspiration for all those who are working for universal peace, all the whistleblowers, all the people in government and positions of power who are working for universal peace. Please bless them and protect them. Inspire everybody who's working for universal peace. And we give thanks, knowing that this is so. And so now I invite you to slowly bring your awareness back into the room and into your body. Slowly wiggling your fingers and toes and stretching a little bit. When you feel ready, slowly open your eyes. So thank you everybody. Thank you so much for showing up. Whether you're here today in the present moment or in the future, we're all together in the field of love. And I'm so grateful to be with you and feel you and receive the love that you contribute to the field. So I wish you many blessings for the next few weeks, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you in a month for the December Spiritual Weather Report. And meanwhile, wishing you so much love, so many blessings. Thanks again. Bye for now.